Welcome to the Success Journey Show. Let's travel together through the lives of individuals on the road to success.
Hey, what's going on, travelers? It's Ricky Ventures and Marlon Madden, and we are back with you for another episode of the Success Journey Show. Marlon, what's good, bro? How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing well, man. I'm doing really good, man. It's a dude, man, life is just, it's like one of the we're in that phase of life where it's just I don't get a lot of pause time.
We don't get a lot of pause time.
No, I think during this show is probably one of the rarest times during my week when I get to pause a little bit, listen to people talk, about people.
Yep.
Other than that, man, it's just constantly on the go, right?
Constantly on the go.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say constantly on the go, and sometimes we even forget to thank our listeners or travelers. Listen, we don't scoreboard. Here at Success Journey Show, somebody will probably have to call and be like, hey, this show right here is blowing up. I'm like, oh, for real? Hey, you're in 95 countries. Oh, for real? Right? And these are real things we're talking about. So we don't scoreboard. But this weekend, for some reason, I was checking, Spotify. I've been checking to see, is Spotify really getting accurate and analytics for us? Do we need to move to a different platform? So if you're listening to Spotify and you want to call my phone or text Ricky and try to keep us in your on your platform by giving us a sponsor like Joe Rogan, you could do that.
Yeah, right.
But you don't have to give us that many zeros. But
we'll take
just
one less. Yeah.
One less. But so the listeners, I'm telling you, our travelers, I gotta thank you guys for this weekend. For some reason, every time I open it up, it was like 20 more people have downloaded it. 20 more people have downloaded it every 5 minutes. So it was going berserk this weekend. I don't know what episode that I was trying to find the episode, or was it multiple episodes, or what did we do that was different that it was going so crazy? So I just want to say thank you guys for being engaged and loving our content that we're putting out, because it means a lot. We don't need the pat on the back, but when you do get it, or when you get it through whatever way, we want to just say thank you. That's pretty much it on my part.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And as he just said that, I just started looking at the numbers. I was like, oh shoot, I wasn't expecting to see that at all. Okay. Yeah. All right, man. Appreciate you guys, man. This is great. This is really good. Man, this is nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys, man, just appreciate you. Without you, we wouldn't be here. Just getting the feedback, hearing more things, what you guys want to listen to, the feedback you give on the guests, the calls that you make, the areas that you're laughing, all those different things, right? Just, man, we love it, man. Love you guys for it, and definitely want to continue to bring more and more content to you guys. So yeah, love it. Well, man, without further ado, Marlon, let's jump into the guests for this week. We have a phenomenal guest.
Yeah. But before we do that, Rick, we got to tell them, hey, check out hitdoctor.com, hitdoctormd.com. That's one of our sponsors. It's a baseball apparatus that help you stay inside the baseball. If you're armbar and casting, or you have early extension, it also help you with your swing plane. And the great thing about it, it's all in a bag. What we try to say, it is a bench drill, L-screen drill in a bag. You could go anywhere. It could attach to any tee, and we tried it on all of them, any tee that there is, and it's very durable. Once again, hitdoctormd.com. Go check it out, and we can, if you hit us up directly in our DMs, we could also give you a code to get some money off of it, because we have that power. All right.
Yes, sir.
Like Ricky said, let's jump. Go ahead.
One other thing too, man. We are our scholarship, our Success Journey Scholarship. It's that time of the year where we're really raising funds for our scholarship. The scholarship is meant for individuals that are interested in the STEM fields and that want to go to community college. It is something that we're supporting in our local area here, the community college that we have a partnership with, Hartford Community College. And we are seeking donations for anyone that wants to help contribute to paying for the tuition of individuals that are going to community college. Reason why we chose community college is because, I mean, that was just in honor of the route I know that I took to get where I am today. First going to the community college, Dutchess Community College to be exact, in Poughkeepsie, New York. Graduating from there and then going to my 4-year school, then going to my master's program. So if anyone can tell you the power of community college, I definitely can tell you the strengths of it, and getting you set up on a trajectory that you wouldn't even imagine, the amount of opportunities and just what you'll be able to be exposed to. So yeah, go to the Success Journey show, go to our scholarships page, and go ahead and leave a donation.
Yeah, and I want to just point out too. Listen, when you put that donation in, it's not coming directly to the Success Journey show.
Oh
We
yeah, yeah.
could
No,
have
it'll
done it
come
that
back.
way, but we
Yeah.
didn't want to because we didn't want people to feel like we're keeping the money for ourselves. So we partnered with the school directly so that when you donate, it goes into the school, and because they're a 501c, they're a nonprofit organization, you will get the proper documents in order to file that in your tax return for donations to whatever entity. So definitely do that. And also Ricky's brother, who's also a PhD, who's a doctor, he also is a product of Dutchess Community College. So
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
Ricky's talking about the community college route, we know that, well, they know that route very well. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the next in our bulletin, we have remember that, the church service, right where you start everything. Go read to the church bulletin. So yeah, man. I don't know
On
if they even still
today,
do that.
on
Yeah, on
today,
today. Yeah. On today. Everyone please sign up for the church potluck that'll be happening next week. Please let us know
drop
what
your
you're going to be
monies.
bringing. Yeah,
Drop
yeah,
your
drop your
monies.
monies in the envelope. All right, guys, man. Let's get out of here, Marlon. Let's get them into this the guest of today. All right, everyone. Peace.
Well up.
The Elite Swing Trainer from Hit Doctor is a great tool to keep your swing short and compact. You don't need to go to a cage or a facility near you. You can use it at home as well as on a field. My name is Kyle Davenport. I am currently a hitting instructor at Upper Deck Baseball Academy. A common drill that I like to have my hitters do to keep their hands inside the baseball is to go up to the fence and do a fence drill. A lot of times the fence is very hard and it can damage your bat. I love to use this product because it will ultimately replace the wall drill. It prevents them from casting and being long through the baseball where they can only hit pitches that are on the outside or the middle of the plate. It is very adjustable. You can adjust it from any pitch's location between the middle of the plate, outside, and inside, and that will determine how much you keep your hands inside the ball and will allow you to drive the ball to all fields. It will fit on any type of tee, no matter what type of tee you have. It's essential to use this tool because it naturally creates that short path to the ball and long through it. Good. I recommend any player, no matter what level they are at, to use the Elite Swing Trainer.
Hey, travelers, we are here back at our favorite segment of the show. It's a segment where we bring on a guest that's going to share her journey, her story as she's been traveling through this world and through her life, right? And we're so excited to bring to you Kimberly Best to the Success Journey show. Kimberly, thank you so much for joining us. Now, do you go by Kimberly or Kim? Whatever one, which one works best for you?
Well, I hear mom more than anything, but
Oh, there we go. Well,
go
mom,
ahead and call me.
Mom works too.
So Mama K.
Yeah, Kim will work fine. Yes, thank you. And thank
Great.
you for having me. It's just a pleasure to be here.
Man, it's our honor to have you on, and for you to share your story with our travelers and our guests. I don't know if we share this, but we call them travelers because we're all traveling on this journey of life, right? This is the Success Journey show, but just as a reminder to everyone, maybe this is their first time tuning in. There is no predetermined definition of what someone's success should be in their life, right? And we believe that success is in the journey, not the destination, pulling from the famous quote. So thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you start off by just sharing a little bit about yourself so we can get to know you a little bit more?
Sure. I started my first part of my journey at the ripe old age of 19 as a registered nurse. And I kept my nursing license. I still have my license, though I don't practice, but I've worked in every intensive care unit that there is. When you work in some, you get pulled to others. So I worked in trauma and ultimately in the emergency department. It got hard to watch people suffer so much. So I got a little burnout and went back to school, graduate school in psychology. And while that was fascinating, for an ER nurse, it was kind of, the process is sort of like watching paint dry. And I have the heart of an ER nurse. So I ended up going back into nursing. And then out of nursing for a while, I moved to Tennessee and had some small children, and my husband traveled a lot. So I homeschooled them. And then I went through a really bad divorce. And as I was going through this after a couple decades of marriage, my brother, who's an educator, said, "Hey, Kim, have you ever heard of this thing called mediation?" And back then, if you Googled mediation, Google would say, "You mean meditation?" And so, no, I didn't know at all what mediation was. But he told me about transformative mediation at Hofstra University in New York.
In New York. In
So
Long Island. I went to
I took
Stony
a little,
Brook.
beautiful place. I took a journey there and started taking some courses and realized that we just haven't learned how to do conflict, that there are alternatives to beating each other up, emotionally in any other way, that we just haven't learned how to do this. So after my divorce was final, I went back to graduate school in conflict management, and with a passion to see if we can learn a better way to relate to each other, we can, I believe, build a better world. So that leads me to talking with wonderful people like you. And thanks for letting me share.
Wow. Go ahead, Mo.
Yeah, definitely. So what? I'm gonna jump into the portion where you're a registered nurse. What made you want to be a registered nurse? Was it someone in your family? How did that one come about?
That's a great question. So I was a big avid reader when I was a child, and there was there was Sue Barton nurse series and Sherry Ames nurse series. So I read those. But I think I've just always had a heart for service, and the whole medical field is such a service industry. So I also have this massive caretaking thing, I just love loving on people. So it's the words that come into my head as I remember that is just how humbling it is to be sharing a space where people are going through a whole lot. And I look back on that, it's very much like conflict. It's just an honor to share that part of someone's journey and learn as much from them as they're sharing too. Which just real quick, another thing I didn't mention was I wrote a book called How to Live Forever, a guide to writing the final chapter of your life story. And it is kind of that our story to me is also a journey. And the first person that I watched die, I was a 19-year-old registered nurse, and I sat at her bedside, and I just had this vision of a book closing. And I was wondering her story, like what people didn't know about her, what she was taking with her, and what she loved, what made her sad. I just wondered. And that held true for decades of nursing, where I saw someone as a story. And so the book, I've seen a lot of people die at all kinds of different ages. And just one day I just started writing. And it's kind of like, if our life is our story and we're careful how we write it along the steps, why do we stop writing what we want the ending to look like? So I wrote about the legal decisions that need to be made. I went way into healthcare decisions because that matters a lot. Yes. And celebration of life planning, leaving your story as your legacy, resolving any conflict, because it's to me, one of the things I want to look at my life when I'm on my deathbed and not have regret.
Yeah.
And sometimes those relationships that are left open and hurt, can be a source of regret. So, and then finally, using mediation as a tool to have those challenging conversations that people just don't like to have.
Yeah. I want to ask you about seeing so many people die for a plethora of reasons. One could be the person was they were 91, 92, they came to the hospital. Another could be the person was very terminally ill, they died in the hospital. One could be a gunshot, because your gunshot wound. Whatever kind of situation arised, how did you handle death, and how did it play in your life with your decision making after you've seen so many people die and or even getting a chance to talk to them before they pass?
Now, that's a brilliant question. I did work in the trauma unit at University of Cincinnati, which is kind of notorious now for bringing a football player back. Yeah. So the thing that my biggest takeaway is that now matters a lot. Every single moment might be our last our last moment, every single moment, So I think a little bit of an obsession with living purposefully, living as much as I can to be the person I want to be, as well as impact people the way I want the memory of me to be. It's almost obsessive. It's hard for me to rest, because it's like, well, if this is my last moment, I still want to do this and I still want to do this. Yeah. But I think I also super much honor the difficulty that all these decisions and that stage of life is, and accept it as normal. Which is a relief, because one of the things that goes sideways for us in our last stage of life, or when we're helping others through that, is making some really challenging decisions, often built on denial.
Yeah.
Somehow we've told ourselves we're not supposed to die. And I had a niece who was 5 years old die of a brainstem tumor. I've seen people of all ages die. And the other thing I learned is I have all this wonderful acceptance, but the game would be over if it were my own children. Like I know that. So I think just the poignancy of life and the beauty of death. I mean, it's just sacred.
Yeah. Now, man, I want to move to having that experience and, going through the different, the conflicts that you've gone through, and there's a transition, even in your marriage, as you mentioned it, but then also working with people in this whole conflict space. How does that perspective of life, as you have framed it here, help on as you're working through conflict management, right, with individuals, as you're setting the perspective for them?
So for me, because I see everyone's life as their story, I think. And you said at the very beginning in the introduction, you were talking about everybody's journey being different, but of value. I wanted to say that for me, I see us all as a puzzle piece, and we have to be different in this puzzle piece. And everybody does have a place of value, no matter what it is you do. And if we put those pieces together without trying to change them or shame them or whatever, I think we could come together beautifully as puzzle pieces. So the conflict part, I feel like it's almost an emergency room for the soul with people in conflict, because before it was their physical beat up. When it's about conflict, it's kind of your emotional and spiritual beating up. And in both of them, I just have a wish that everyone has agency in those, that they make their own decisions, knowing what's best for them, coming fully informed, And we teach each other along that journey.
Mm.
Hmm.
I love it,
No,
love it. Go ahead, Mark.
yeah, so I want to dive a little conflict resolution, right? So a lot of people, when they hear conflict resolution, they're thinking, hey, so two people, they're upset with each other, they come into a room and they leave hand in hand out the room saying, oh man, everything is great, everything is grand now, right? And for me, conflict resolution, this is my, I don't know if this is going to be right because you're the professional, but I feel like you could leave the room saying that we don't agree, but still have an understanding or being amicable with each other. So understanding that, or even an understanding that we'll never see eye to eye on that particular point, but we can work through it and still be amicable, however it is. So I want you to break down the conflict resolution. How do you see people? What do you think when people first come to you? What do they think is going to happen, and the reality of what happens when they leave out that door?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, people were scared to death of me. Yeah, I think the big thing is, one of the big things I think that people are concerned with when they come for help is that they will be blamed. And I love that the process isn't about blame. It isn't about who's right and wrong. And conflict is normal. It's just, I think, because we haven't learned the tools to deal with it well, that we're afraid of it or push it aside. And I like that you brought up conflict, because for me, that's one of the words, like death, that we keep hidden because we don't understand it. And if we talk about it and bring light to it, we'll see that it's not so frightening. So conflict is normal. And then people are pretty afraid when they come, but we have to understand when they start talking that each person has a story and their story is their truth.
Yeah.
And if we stood in their shoes, we would have the same truth. We would do the same things if we had the same background, the same. So getting people to listen as well as speak so that they can be heard. And as far as leaving, whether you leave, singing Kumbaya and holding hands, or leave respecting each other's opinion, I almost favor that last one better, because we are different. We're not going to think the same. And a very wise person told me once that just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I'm against you. It means I'm me. It means I have different background, different experiences, different biology. And we kind of take it as an insult because someone doesn't think like us, that they're against us. And that's just not true. So I think people come out usually if the space is a safe space, understanding that right and wrong doesn't matter as much as finding a way forward that is the forward you want to have, and that's not necessarily agreeing. And it's usually not even agreeing, but it is about seeing each other's perspective.
I like how you said that. Right and wrong is not the goal, but more so how do we move forward from here? Because you see, what that highlights for me is that, as you said, everyone's perspective is going to be different because they experience life different, they process things different. So that there is never going to be the same, right? Everyone's going to have their individual values and how they look at things. But the key thing you said is that, how do we move forward from here within? But when I say that, the thing that's shaping in my mind is either how do we move forward in here because we have to coexist, right? How do we move forward in here if we don't ever have to see each other again, right? Right? I mean, there's all sides of it, right? So talk about that part of it, because I don't think I think we spend a lot of time on that. Hey, I need to be heard. I need to be heard. I need to be heard. Oh, no, I need to be heard. I need to be heard. I need to be heard. No, let me prove my point. Let me prove my point. Oh, no, let me prove my point. Let me prove my point. And then is that butting of heads, and then, oh, I don't like you. Oh, I don't like you because I have my opinion, you have your opinion, and you can't go. How do you shift that focus and say, hey, let's focus on how do we move forward? Or when do you draw that flag to say, okay, now it's time to move forward, right?
Yeah. So one of the first things we do is William Urey's principle of separating the people from the problem. So if I'm upset with you because you didn't do the dishes, you become a problem. You become a horrible person who won't do the dishes. And you're not the problem. Like, we can't solve for people, but we can identify the problem. The problem is the dishes need to be done.
The dishes
And that's a solvable problem, right? So that helps a lot. I want to say one more thing about the right wrong, because you leaned into that a little bit. A wise friend of mine decades ago, early in her marriage, she said, when I fight with my husband, I'm always right. Because I always win, because I am better with words, because I'm more assertive, because I express myself better. And one day I realized that in order for me to be right, I had to make him wrong. And I want to love enough that I don't have to make someone wrong. Wow. And you can substitute win and lose. When I have to win, I have to make you lose. And I want to care enough about you that I don't have to make you lose. Isn't that just amazing? Like, it's that simple.
Yeah. When you put it like that,
it's simple and complex at the same time.
Yeah, always complex.
Because if I feel I'm right, I'm going to have to make you lose.
That's right. So, except when you recognize that, you can say, wait, you can be right too, because you're right for you. You're not right for me. And that's kind of the problem that we have is, if it's right for me, it has to be right for you too. We have a little problem separating ourselves from someone else being themselves. Yeah.
And you drew a nice the situation that you presented. The dishes need to get done. The person X won't do the dishes, so person Y doesn't like person X anymore. Is the dishes? So I want to know, like, when somebody sits down and you start working through that, and they start thinking to themselves, is the dishes that important that I'm willing to end a friendship, a marriage, whatever, because it could be roommates, it could be whatever the situation is, that I'm willing to say, this dishes is so important that I am willing to draw the line in the sand that we need to part because you just don't do the dishes. How do you handle that situation when somebody's in the room with you?
I think that is a brilliant question, because it is never about the thing you're arguing about. It's never about the dishes. What does that represent? I mean, what is missing with those dishes not being done? Are you telling yourself, if you don't do this, if you leave a mess for me, you don't care about me? Is it really that you think I don't care about you don't care about me? And if you do these things for me, then I feel cared for. So once people even identify what's the story underneath that this represents, because there's always a story underneath. And sometimes that story is, look, for the first 16 years of my life, my mom and dad beat into me that this was something of so much value that if somebody didn't do it, they're a horrible person. You were raised that was irrelevant. Something else is more important. So we don't think of the underlying stories of why this matters to us. But you go to a mediator, we'll help you find that.
That brings me into another scenario, and I don't want to air my dirty laundry out a little that much, but what if, how would you answer this one?
Hypothetically.
I get people to talk even when they don't mean to.
Yeah. Hypothetically, what if, you're laying down in the bed and then your spouse comes in the bed and it's like, asks you to get up to turn the lights off or get them some water? What is this?
I've never been that person that gets somebody to get me water. So how does I was going to lean all the way into
no,
this.
good.
Yeah.
He's gonna get
Yeah.
in trouble.
I
Hopefully,
know, right?
hopefully, there's one person that never listened to this episode.
Ricky,
I want
keep a
to
glass of
resolve this
water.
one. Yeah, there you
Keep
go.
a-
Right
Keep a glass of water at the bedside table.
there you go.
Yeah,
Right. Be
I wonder
proactive.
if
Yeah.
there's some comfort there. Well, if I were talking to you and this person who
Yeah.
doesn't really exist,
Yeah.
the question is, what value is there for you that you want your partner to do this? And what does that represent? And for you, what is that saying to you? What experience are you having because someone's asking you to do that?
That's
And
true. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so
Ricky's trying to be nice.
hypothetically,
I'll tell you, go ahead. I'm gonna tell you how I feel.
well, hypothetically, Ricky, so the question is, in this hypothetical situation, what does that make you feel like? What is that saying to you when someone asks you to do something once you're kind of tucked in? And
Yeah. It's the obvious to me at least is in consideration of, hey, I'm already resting, I'm in my downtime, should why am I now being asked to get uncomfortable, when did you not plan out, did you not think through what what the sequence of events that are going to happen before you get into bed, and then now I have to come now and fix it, right?
yeah. So I'm
So
hearing a
that's
little bit of respect in there. Like, can you not
yeah,
respect that
yeah,
I'm already in bed, I'm already comfortable, and
exactly, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Hey, we
You
can
heard all
keep
that.
going down
You
this.
heard all
Ricky,
that.
Ricky,
Right?
I'll never ask you for water again.
Yeah.
I like the
Me,
ask
he's
part
talking
of the.
about me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Marlon,
man.
your conscience is bothering you, huh? You all are making it. Everybody's like, okay, this is why we don't go to mediation.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Success Journey Show. Please follow us on our social media on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at The Success Journey Show. Also, check out our website at thesuccessjourneyshow.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the show.
No, but it's so true. And honestly, just going through this hypothetical exercise, it really made, in that quick second, it made me really think about, how does it really make me feel? Like, what is this? My first thing was, as we said, hey, be proactive and just have water every time I come in, be ready to put the water in, or just turn the lights off, whether everyone is ready or not, right? Just turn the lights off. Or what I did.
Those are Band-Aids, Ricky.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah, no, you're
Mhm.
absolutely right. Those are Band-Aids because it doesn't resolve the actual thing. And then, like
Correct.
you said, then it's going to be the dishes next time. Then it's going to be something else, and you don't really
Right.
get to the root of the thing. And I love this, Kimberly, because it really forces you to address the root of the problem, not the symptoms, right? And I
That's
think
right.
a lot of times in our lives we're very prone, like you said, to put Band-Aids on things, Band-Aid,
Mhm.
until all of a sudden something breaks, and you're like,
That's it.
man, how did that happen? How did that person break? Or how did she break? It's like, man, it's been using Band-Aids this whole time. Go
You're
ahead, Marlon, I said-
100% right. 100% right. I liken it to a trash pile. All these little things build up,
Correct.
and all of a sudden that pile is so big, we're like, I can't move that pile. I'll just get rid of this person and start over. But we haven't learned the tools, so we still build up another pile. Because can you imagine, Ricky, having this hypothetical conversation where you're so honest and can be heard? I really like to help you and I don't mind getting something. But for me, the experience I'm having when I'm already set in is that you're not seeing me, that I'm already comfortable, and I kind of feel not that you intend to do this, I know you don't, but it makes me feel like you're not respecting me. You're not respecting that I'm already comfortable and stuff. And it's hard to do that. Marlon's going, oh yeah, that's when people start throwing things.
I'm
No.
Down.
I think that's
my script.
Yeah, Ricky's reading that.
Yeah, my giveaway is a free consultation for you and this hypothetical person.
Yeah, there we go.
No, I'm 100% in agreement with you. I do not like the sweep under the rug mentality. Yeah. And sometimes it's a hard, and you could talk about conflict in the workplace, conflict between family, conflict between immediate family or extended family, whichever kind of conflict, that's sweeping under the rug. Like you said, you're going to want to get rid of the person because you want to get rid of the garbage, but you never, ever learn how to not put more under the rug.
That's right.
And because of that, you carry that to the next relationship and the next relationship and the next relationship. And then before that, you start saying everybody suck but you.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You're the professional.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking, I'm just stirring the pot, right? I'm thinking that there's two things that are required. Being honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that you can be honest with someone else.
Yeah.
And to be that honest requires a lot of courage.
Yes.
Because I know that if I say to you, hey, Marlon, when you ask me to do this, I'm going to make you uncomfortable, right? You're not going to be like, oh, thanks. That's the best news I heard all day. And for some reason, we think we're not supposed to upset other people. And we're not on purpose, but our being honest, if my being honest makes you uncomfortable, that's your work to figure out, not mine to present something that keeps you, but we definitely have superpowers that we can really hurt people for stepping on our toes. I like to use the word stepping on our toes because we will step on each other's toes in relationship. There's no way not to. We'll disappoint each other. We will be disappointed. But talking through those, being honest, and not saying what you did that was wrong, not pointing the finger at the other person, but how you experience that and even speaking your needs in that grows people together. But it takes a lot of courage to do it because you don't know how the other person is going to react or respond. Which is why I like mediation too, because you have a neutral there, right? Like you have a neutral who can help guide that. So if the response is, oh my gosh, all you do is complain, I would reframe that. I would say, did you hear him? Because he's not complaining. I don't hear complaining. What I hear him saying is that hear him asking you is this. And people can hear it then.
Yeah. Do you ever get blamed for picking a side? Like,
oh, that's
man,
so
you're
good.
siding with her. Oh man.
What a great question. So we're neutrals. We're supposed to say we're neutral and or impartial, but neutral to me is like, a pan of water is neutral, and I'm not that. But what I say I am is I'm omnipartial, omni-all. I'm for both of you, or however many are here, and I am. I want you to come out of this with the best and you to come out of this with the best. And if I can keep in that space, I really am not going to show that. Now, sometimes in more difficult people, and quite honestly, especially with personality disorders, that they can't have any recognition and maybe are more damaging to other people, it can be really hard to not want to advocate for somebody else. But keeping the power level too is part of what we do so that there's not a power over. Even me, I'm with you. I'm not over you. I'm not judging you. I'm not telling you what to do.
So when they come in, do you give them a personality test? Do you do any kind of personality check or anything like that? Or do you even believe in personality exercises, learning your personality?
I don't, because I'm dealing with a specific conflict. However, Marlon, you will love to know that my current partner, when we started going out, I gave him a barrage of personality tests.
Oh, there you go. Here, here's a KISS
Even though you don't believe in them.
Here's a
Oh, but
Myers-Briggs.
I mean, that's been debunked, but it's when I took the Myers-Briggs, like, oh, that's me to a T. But
That is Myers-Briggs got me to a T because I'll debate you even if I know just to push you to think differently.
when is your birthday?
March 20th.
March 20th. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought
I'm
maybe you were
Yeah, I'm ENTP.
ENTP. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember what those stand for, but yeah, I'll look it up afterwards for sure. Yeah. So I don't know if you've done the Enneagram at all. I'm sure you've had people talk about the Enneagram.
No, I haven't.
That's
heard
the
of
first
that
time
one.
I've heard that one. Yeah.
Oh, I will send you something. So it's kind of the rage and has been for a while, but there are 9 personality types in this, and we have one main one and a wing one. Enneagram Institute has a free. I think it's like $5. It's probably the most accurate. The Enneagram Institute. I am a 1, which is a perfectionist, and absolutely tied with a 9, which is a peacemaker. And then the definition of a peacemaker is like you make a good mediator. I know I'm a recovering perfectionist. So this is truly, I am a perfectionist and a peacemaker, which is kind of a dichotomous thing to be. I mean, it's true. Yeah, that's true, but it is me to a T. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I just looked it up. Enneagram.
You need to take that test, both of you.
Tonight.
We're gonna take that test, and we'll.
That's awesome. Okay, to get your spouse to take it too, or your partner to take it, because there's a whole section under the Enneagram Institute that says how you partner, what your strengths and weaknesses with that person is. When you read that, then call me, because you're going to be like, oh, that's why we do that every single time. It's
is
pretty
that good
cool.
for like business partners as well? I want to
there
make
are
sure.
people.
Are
you guys going to do it?
Yeah, I'm like, hey man, let's go.
Yeah, especially for business partners.
Good.
There's always been something I wanted to tell you.
Yeah. Hey, read line 35 a couple of times.
That's right. Oh, that'll be fun. I wish I could be there for that.
So now, and I like what Ricky asked about the sides. Have there ever been a situation where, like, well, I know. Well, let me just ask the question. The scenarios presented to you, and you can clearly see, like, okay, well, this would be the right answer, but the other person, for some reason, cannot. And how do you work through that to just conflict? And the other person's looking at you when you're giving the answers, like, or asking questions, like, you know. So have you ever been in those kind of situations?
You guys ask the best questions. So here's what I believe about the right answer. It might be the right answer for me, but I have a snapshot of you, and I have a space and time with you, and you are a story. You're a moving motion picture. So for me to think I know what the answer for you is, to me, is arrogant. So sometimes I sit there and people are like, oh yeah, I agree to this and I agree to this. And it may look lopsided to me. You know, it might be like, well, I think this person could do better, but it's not my agreement. And that's the beauty of a mediator. If it's what you want, I'll reality test it. Now, 2 weeks from now, do you think that'll still work, or whatever it is? But I do not pretend or assume to know that I know what the right answer for you is, which is fascinating, because again, if I label it or keep it to one option that is my right answer, there's countless options on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
So yes, the process of you and the other person and maybe me seeing different sides of this means we've expanded the possibilities of solutions. And that's pretty cool.
Man, do you have, I'm gonna ask you this one last question, and then I want to ask a little bit more on the building up that business, that consulting business that you have, and what that was like in that journey. But have you had got to the point where you have a referral system to, hey, you know what, guys, I agree, this is not going to get resolved. Let's just go straight to an attorney.
Yeah, let's go to court.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
Bob is right outside. And he had the number 2 pencil, and you guys could sign right there.
Oh, well, that's a great question. I love your questions. I'm a non-attorney mediator. So,
Okay.
there are things that are better off resolved in court, but, that's a win-lose. And the right person doesn't always win.
Yeah.
And I believe everybody loses. You lose a lot of money. You will never have a decent relationship after you all beat each other up the way that does. So, but people will opt for that sometimes because too often people don't want a solution; they want the other person punished. And if I'm bound and determined that my goal is for you to get a judge to point his finger and say you're the wrong one. I've seen people lose a lot. I worked with someone who racked up $200,000 in attorney fees because they wanted a judge to say their wife was wrong in the marriage that was falling apart. Then a judge isn't going to do that. They've heard everything. It's so getting people to get away from their anger and their pride and really think about what they want their future to look like is a better way to stay engaged in that.
Gotcha. Well, as I shift to more now, the journey of building up this business, right? So you were in nursing as a nurse, RN, many years, seeing all facets of it. Nursing is is a system, right? You even in your different areas of it, but you get in, you understand the system, you apply your education, working with patients, things of that nature, your knowledge and skill sets. Then going into this more professional services, consultancy type mediation area after going through school, getting educated in it. What was it like building up this business for you? And what did you have to learn in order to really like get this to grow and start striving? And I can see you like, hey guys, I heard your conversation. Why don't you come sit with me? Right. Just build up referrals, like how did you get that? How did you get it built up to where you are today?
So it was spending years never being in my comfort zone. Like if someone would have told me how much out of my comfort zone I would have to be, I don't know that I would have had the courage, but just I kept going. I kept going. I think I had a vision. I think you need a why. Why am I doing this? And for me, I have pretty strong whys. I mean, I have 5 kids and 4 grandkids. I have a son who graduated West Point, who is, been in 2 wars. And every time he goes off, it just, I know we can do better than this. I have a son who is a police officer, and I have community members. And I mean, I do mediations for the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office between their community members and their police officers. Because when we see each other as people, all of a sudden we can talk, instead of throwing everybody, whether it's police officers into a label or Black people into a label or women into a label, we're all ourselves, once we can see each other, and I see this work every time, once I can sit down and hear you because you're set up to be heard, because you're affirmed, you've been listened to, we understand your emotions. No one's trying to change any of that. Let's hear what the other person has to say too. It just works. The process works. So that motivated me, just really to want that 9 on the Enneagram, that peacemaker. In the time that I have left, if I can do something to help contribute. And I didn't know from day to day where it would go, but writing a book was helpful. Learning to speak, which I'm really very introverted. And I don't think I know anything more than anyone else. So I have a hard time sometimes getting on a podcast because I do the imposter syndrome thing. Who am I to be talking to anybody about these? Which is why I talk about my own experiences, because quick story, my youngest son, when he was about 16 years old, I tucked my kids in to bed all the time. And I look around his room and I'm like, what is this mess? And he's like, what mess? Uh-oh. And I say this and this and this. And he's like, I don't see anything. That's a trigger for me. Like somebody, when I see something and someone says it's not there, it's a trigger for me. So about the time I wanted to pick up a pillow and put it over his face, instead I turn around and walk out of the room, which you don't do. That's not good in conflict. And I'm walking down the steps and I hear this voice behind me say, "And you call yourself a conflict manager."
Oh man.
Which
I
was
said,
a
"Oh, yeah,
wonderful
let me show you how I'm gonna manage this
reminder.
conflict."
That's right. Right. A wonderful, but I needed that because I just realized, yes, when we're in there, when it's us being hurt or triggered, which is
It's different.
normal, we lose all sight of how to do it. But what we haven't learned to do is the what next. So that moment becomes a wall. And the other person maybe won't let you pass that. Oh, no, you said this or you said that. I want to turn that into a door. Okay, that happened because of my past. Big triggers are always our past. What can we do moving forward? You know, to have that conversation that brings us back together again.
Oh, I love that you said that, and I mean, I love this podcast. I'm telling you, you say you struggle getting on podcasts and talking, but the way that you're sharing here is just really just activating Marlon and mine, just thoughts and things that we're going through every single day. And one aspect of the story you just shared with about your son when he was 16, it is kind of really gives me that going back to before we started recording, we're talking about, how, does it get easier as it gets older, right? The kids get older, but my sons are quickly approaching, and they are in that teenage phase, and you know, and
Oof.
as you were explaining your story, like I had chills down my spine as to how I would respond to that. And I'm just like, man, maybe I really need some conflict management skills here so that I can really get how do we go from here? Like, where do we go from
Yes.
here?
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
and because, I got 3 boys, all the travelers know. And many times they just don't see anything in their room, right?
It's
Like you say,
true.
what is all this? And like, yeah, we're gonna go clean your room, and the room looks exactly the same, right? And then that's the realm in which I'm in right now. And I'm like, well, as a as a father, as a man, right? And I want to show them that okay, I can assert my authority, right, in multiple ways, right? I can
Mhm.
create boundaries. I can take away things. I can do other things. I can assert my authority. But if I'm looking at the future and how I want to shape them, right?
Mm.
What skills can I learn in order to make sure that I work through these situations in a way so that they're learning something, right? I'm
Mhm.
learning something, and it is not a butting of heads, but more so
Right.
coming to a resolution. And I'm convinced I need some training in that, right? Because
Yeah.
my knee jerk reaction a lot of time is, is not is not the best when it comes
That's
to
right.
these young boys, right? Just to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you for your honesty. It is true. It's again, we haven't learned how to do this. A lot of times we're doing it how we were raised. And my question always when I talk about conflict, everybody laughs. When
Ricky went down memory lane on that one.
see, it's just because that's all we've learned, right?
Yeah.
So I ask people, I mean, how are your kids going to learn to deal with conflict? I'll tell you another story. My twins, my son that was in West Point is a twin, has a twin sister. And in my marriage, my husband, if there was any conflict, would just leave. And that'll make somebody crazy, just turn around and leave. And so they would argue, and I read an article once, and I'll get to that part, but I didn't want my son to learn to leave when a woman was not happy. I wanted him to be able to stay. I knew that. And then I read this article, which was a brilliant idea. My kids are 29 and they still talk about this. When they were in conflict, we had 7 acres at the time. I would demand that they hold hands, walk the perimeter of the place, and come back. I didn't step in the middle of their conflict. There's no way to do that and that to come out good. But I didn't want them to learn to leave angry. I had no idea what would happen. But hey, I read it in a book and it looked good. So I did it and it worked. Like they always came back laughing. They hated those first steps, I'm sure. Like, hey, you don't want to hold hands with somebody you're angry at. But I wanted them to at least experience staying present when someone's unhappy. So I say to people, what happened to you in your family of origin when you were the source of conflict? And what did you learn about conflict from that? Because there's a whole better way to do it.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what my son knows is a hostile situation.
I'm going to say your sons, I have 3 sons and 2 daughters. When boys are in their teens, they have no use for a mom. They need you dads. They need you dads. And they need you dads sometimes to be hard. Like they're not their best friend, but they also need to know what the lesson is in that. My nephew told me when I was raising my now 29-year-old, he was a little bit older, and he said, we act like we don't hear you, but please stay with us. Stay with us because we get it. Like sooner or later, we will get it. Yeah. And I've also heard married men say that about their marriages. Like, you think you only should tell us once. If you stay with us and we'll get it. We just don't get it the first time.
Yeah. Or don't want to.
Oh, the truth. All my illusions are busted.
Now let's ask about, I like that Ricky went into the business side of it. Now, learning business, creating your own functional business, because everybody just, once again, is just like anything else, the conflict, everything else, the thought of it is lovely, right? But when that first time you had to figure out taxes and how to manage your books and all the different things that come along with business, how to generate those leads or how to get more referrals or anything else to be in the position you are with the in Los Angeles. How did you maneuver that?
Yeah. So I'm really good at my day job and really bad at business. I say that first. So I have to rely. It is so time consuming having your own business. I have an assistant right now who said, my mom is also an entrepreneur. And I know when I grow up, the last thing I want to be is an entrepreneur. So you're always learning. And I think the reason that I am good at my job is because I had the best teachers, So even in the business, you have to let go of what's not as important, I think, to focus on what is important to you. And I say that because my tax person has a heart attack every time I bring in a pile of papers around, let's see, or they do April 15th. So I bring them in about July the 12th,
I'm with you. I always need an extension.
Right. I don't enjoy that part of it. Some people do. I do not like it at all. But, someone taught me once that no matter, to get to somewhere you want to go, you will have to jump through hoops that will make no sense to you. Your boys need to know that, Ricky. But you have to learn to jump through hoops that make no sense because it is part of getting that journey to where you want to go.
Yeah. How do you look at family legacy in terms of, you're building a business, and so now you have kids that's on 5, but you have them in different parts of the world. You have one, thank him for his service at West Point. He's an officer somewhere in the Army. You have a police officer, and you said you have the 2 daughters that are in whatever job field they are. Are you looking to say somebody to take over the business, somebody to carry on those accounts, somebody that you can groom in terms of setting up different things? How are you looking at that portion of the business and just of life?
I just love how your mind works. So originally I wanted my youngest son, who has he's very, very wise for being so young because he watched everybody else, I think. But, and he's a lot like me. He told me he has absolutely no interest in taking over my business. But I do think that as an older person, part of my job is to pass on whatever wisdom, knowledge building we do, because we do that whether we want to or not.
Correct.
Our legacy, the beautiful word, we're passing on whatever that's going to be every single moment. So I am right now spending a lot of time mentoring other mediators, especially around the world. Anybody who comes to me and asks me to help mentor them, I will make space for that, because I do think that's just how we keep things moving forward.
Correct.
Yeah, and then I meet the coolest people that way too. So I'm hoping that eventually somebody will come in. I'm so particular about my clients. Like I am first do no harm from the nursing thing. So, if somebody wants to be, co-mediator in my business, they have to pretty much be perfect. No. So finding that person, would be a little challenging for me, but I hope to bring somebody on eventually. And yeah, one way or another for what we build to move forward
Definitely.
for all of us.
Yes.
Man, this has been such a fantastic conversation, and I thank you so much for coming on, because we've learned so much in these last few minutes, just about the whole mediation space and just how you approached it, but then also kind of your journey into it. And one last question I wanted to ask you around this, just respecting the time here for us.
I'm gonna put a little closer to the mic, Rick.
Yeah, respecting our time here for us is, if it's a question we ask a lot of our guests. I think I got away from the last couple interviews, but if you can go back to a point in time in your life, knowing what you know now, skills you have now, the perspective you have now, and you can take 1 minute to sit down with yourself and just share some words of wisdom. The twofold part of that question is, what would that time frame be, and then what would you say to her?
That question kind of makes me want to cry, Ricky,
Mm.
because if I wrote a book that was my life, I always say nobody would believe it. No. What a question. That question's going to haunt me for probably a week.
Ooh,
I think,
thanks, Rick.
right. I think, I would tell my younger self, and I wish I would have found the courage to have my voice, to be true to me, to find that truth instead of, trying to be what other people wanted me to be. I think people who know me would say somewhere along the line to give grace to myself for being imperfect, which has taken me a long time to be like, yeah, I messed that up, but I'm human, and that's just going to have to be that way. And I think the thing that I love that I've learned is your authenticity is your superpower. So I very often don't fit in with, I'm not cool, I'm a nerd. I mean, I've always kind of thought outside of the box, and, there's a price for being in the box, there's a price for being outside of the box.
Yes.
But I think if we are authentic to who we are, it's hard not to respect that. But finding who we are is a lifelong journey.
It's a challenge, yeah.
A lifelong journey,
I
yeah.
love it. Wow. Kimberly, can you share with our travelers just where they can connect with you, learn more about what you do? They want to follow you. They want to schedule an appointment, a consultation with you. Can you share that with us? Yeah.
After this, they may be running from me, but I want to say before I do that I have loved every second with both of you. I mean, I could talk with y'all all night. It's Best Conflict Solutions. You can find me by Kimberly Best. If you Google me, I come up pretty quickly. But Best Conflict Solutions, and I have Facebook for whatever that's worth, because who does Facebook anymore? I am on Twitter and Instagram, and LinkedIn is probably the best place, because on LinkedIn you can kind of see what I'm doing and follow there. So any way you want to connect, I'm happy to talk to you.
Love it, man. You have the best last name.
I know, right? Best Conflict Solutions. Either have a really big ego or a great last name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Oh
definitely.
man, I love it. Well, thank you so much, Kimberly, for stopping by here on the Success Journey show. And to all of our travelers, we want to thank you for also tuning in to this show with us for another week. Listen, guys, you can catch up all of our information on the successjourneyshow.com. You can also find us on all social media platforms and also all podcast listening platforms. Share, like, comment, review this podcast and get the word out there. I want to thank you again for joining us again for another episode, and we'll see you next week at the same time, the same place on the Success Journey Show. Everyone have a good one. Peace.
One love.
You've been listening to the Success Journey Show, where your dreams, drive, determination, and diligence are the foundation to success. For more information, check out thesuccessjourneyshow.com. The Journey Squad is here helping you to your destination.